I never thought a broken heart could lead to unexpected love until he stepped into my life. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The rain poured like 1,000 tears, drenching my world and echoing the chaos in my heart. I was standing alone under the flickering neon glow of the diner sign, feeling invisible when he arrived. His name was Liam. He entered through the glass doors with a stormy aura that caught the eye of everyone in the small town. I remember the way his dark hair clung to his forehead, plastered down by the rain. He looked like a movie character in a desperate escape, searching for solace, just like me. My heart thudded heavily in my chest, a painful reminder of love lost. My world had always been so small, revolving around my family and the few friends who managed to stay close. Lila, my best friend, had been my rock, but even she couldn't pull me out of my spiraling sadness. Every day felt like an uphill battle, where getting out of bed was the hardest choice I had to make. The air always seemed heavy. Even the silence around me echoed with my heartbreak. When I saw him stride toward the counter, his eyes sharp yet soft, something inside me twisted painfully. Could this stranger be a sign? A glimmer of hope? I wanted to look away, to shield my aching heart, but I was entranced by him. Every moment stretched like a delicate web, caught between despair and curiosity. He ordered coffee, 2 cups, and glanced over at me. A spark ignited in the dark recesses of my soul. The clatter of cups broke the silence and pulled me from my daze. My breathing quickened, an unfamiliar feeling bubbling within. What was it about him? But then, as quickly as it surged, the reality of my shattered heart took hold. Why was I even thinking about this? I had sworn off love. My hands trembled, and I buried them under the table, willing my mind to stop racing. That's when I noticed the tattoo peeking from beneath his sleeve, a heart, fractured and bleeding. The diner fell silent for a moment. Someone gasped. I could feel the collective judgment murmur among the patrons. Did they see it too? Or was it just me, obsessing over the strange coincidences that seemed to bind us? The moment hung in the air, taut and electric, buzzing with uncertainty. I scanned his face, searching for clues. Was he as broken as I was? Did he carry a heart that still hoped? Before I could answer these questions, a loud bang shattered the moment. The door swung open violently, drawing all eyes away. Another storm was coming, arriving in the form of my past James, my ex, soaked to the bone and seething. He stormed inside, eyes wild. "What the hell are you doing here?" The words echoed like thunder, laced with a rage I hadn't seen in weeks. I felt every gaze turn back to me. Heart racing, I stared at Liam, who watched the scene unfold with a mix of concern and curiosity. This was Ivory's secret, every hurt laid bare. I was trapped in a whirlwind of emotions, the clock ticking down to the very moment that could change everything. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The diner seemed to shrink around me, the noise fading into a surreal whisper as James stormed toward our table. Panic washed over me, a tidal wave that threatened to drown any flicker of hope. I wanted to hide, to vanish into the very walls that had witnessed my sorrow. But instead, I felt an unexpected warmth on my hand. Liam's fingers briefly brushed against Manea's simple gesture, yet enough to anchor me amidst the storm. "Just go, James," I pleaded, my voice barely a whisper, tangled with humiliation and defiance. "You don't belong here." The patrons of the diner were eyewitnesses to my unraveling. The tension coiled tighter around us with every heartbeat. Jameis' laughter was mirthless, a harsh contrast to the atmosphere. "You think you can just move on?" He spat, stepping closer, eyes blazing with anger. "You think this loser," he gestured contemptuously at Liam, "will save you from yourself?" The words cut like knives, and I flinched, grappling with the memories that threatened to surface. Vivid flashes of nights spent in tears, promises whispered in secrecy, and love that had turned sour echoed in my mind. With every beat of silence that followed, A piece of me crumbled, but then a miracle happened. Liam stood, his tall frame seemingly absorbing the tension in the air, as he stepped between James and me, shielding me with a presence that felt both grounding and fierce. "It's not your place to speak to her like that," he said quietly, yet his voice held a strength I hadn't expected. His eyes locked onto mine for a moment, igniting a flicker of courage within me. "Stay out of this, man," James threatened, fists clenching at his sides. "This isn't your fight." What was I even doing? My insides twisted painfully. Here was Liam, someone I barely knew, yet he was standing up for me without a second thought. Deep down, I felt a rush of warmth. Yet, dread wove through the cracks of hope inside me. Could I really let someone new in when my past refused to loosen its grip? "That's where you're wrong," Liam responded, his gaze unwavering. "She deserves better. She deserves to feel safe." James snapped back. "Safe? You think she's safe here?" He turned to the remaining diners, as if seeking their inane approval, but their expressions were a mix of concern and intrigue. "You don't have the faintest idea about her." In that moment of confrontation, memories flickered behind my eyes. I remembered the times James would raise his voice, the way my heart would race not from excitement, but fear and dread. I remembered the isolation, the doubt it planted in my mind, and the way it crushed my spirit. I could feel all those moments surrounding me like shadows, whispering that I wasn't worth defending. But I didn't want to be that version of me anymore. Summoning every ounce of courage, I stood beside Liam, the coolness of the diner floor grounding me. "No, he's right," I said firmly, my own voice surprising me with its steadiness. "You don't know what I'm capable of." James opened his mouth to retort, but I cut him off. "You don't own me anymore. I'm not afraid of you." The shock on his face was worth the risk, a fleeting moment of triumph before the weight of reality crashed back in. Could I really mean those words? The tumult inside me roared, uncertainty mixing with a desperate need for freedom. Liam shifted closer to me, letting our shoulders touch, providing unspoken support. I felt the embers of courage slowly begin to spark, fueled by his quiet strength. Maybe it would take more than this confrontation to heal, but perhaps each small moment of defiance counted. Just then, the door swung open again, and a figure stepped inside, a woman who looked like she had just walked out of a dream. She carried an aura of kindness, her warm smile aimed straight in our direction. "Sorry, I couldn't help but overhear," she said, her voice light but confident. "Is everything okay?" The shift was instantaneous, a tension breaker that had all eyes on her instead of us. There was an unexpected comfort in her presence, the kind that felt like a long-lost friend. The diner's hum returned, a subtle shift as it embraced the newcomer. The atmosphere lightened just enough to create a tiny hole in the heaviness that had enveloped us. But as James simmered in frustration, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. I glanced at Liam, and in that instant, the spark of something deeper ignited. Hope danced in the air between us. Yet uncertainty loomed over us like a storm cloud refusing to dissipate. As I turned to respond to the woman, a sudden realization crashed through me. Past might be harder to escape than I anticipated. But before I could voice my thoughts, James lunged forward, eyes darkening in desperation. "What do you think you're doing?" he shouted, and before I could process the chaos, everything blurred into a rush. Liam's hand found mine, squeezing tightly as he put himself in front of me once more. As the confrontation escalated, my heart pounded violently, soaking up the last remnants of hope as I stood there, rooted in fear. The haven we had stumbled upon transformed into a battleground. Would I finally find my voice, or would the echoes of my past consume me once more? The atmosphere crackled with tension, a taut wire straining for release. The woman's kind gaze flickered nervously between James and Liam as her smile faded slightly, though her determination to intervene held firm. "Please, let's all just take a breath," she urged, her voice gentle yet commanding. "No one needs to be rushed into a confrontation." James sneered, the anger twisting his features. "Why don't you mind your own business?" he snapped, turning to the woman, eyes narrowing. I could feel the panic rising in my throat, but surprisingly, I also sensed something resilient within Mesomething that wanted to fight to be heard, to stand tall. "Stop. Just stop," I shouted before I could think about the consequences. The diner fell silent, all eyes suddenly on me. The room felt heavy with anticipation, but I pressed on, searching for the courage that so often escaped me. I've had enough. James, you may think you own me, but you don't. You can't control my life anymore. Tremors coursed through me as I stood there, trembling not from fear, but from a growing sense of liberation. But even as I spoke, doubt murmured in the back of my mind, dragging me back toward familiar fears. What if he retaliated? What if this moment of strength crumbled the moment I turned my back? Liam remained steadfast beside me, his eyes a steady anchor against the storm, reminding me that I wasn't alone. Don't you get it? He said quietly to James, his voice powerful even in its calmness. She deserves to be respected, not feared. That a flicker of realization darted across the woman's face as she stepped closer to us, her presence a soft reminder of the warmth we could share, the sanity that the whirlwind of my past would never extinguish completely. I'm here for you both, she said, her gaze resting on me with an unspoken understanding. No one should ever be trapped by fear. It's never too late to start fresh. Just then, the door swung open again, and a chill sliced through the diner. My heart dropped as I recognized the figure entering. It was my sister, Emma, her eyes scanning the room until they locked onto mine. A mix of emotions blazed across her face: concern, surprise, and perhaps a flicker of disappointment. What's going on? She called out, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. James seized the distraction. Look who it is, he shouted, gesturing at Emma. Seems like she's just in time to see how much your life is falling apart. The hurt in Emma's eyes pierced through me. I had tried so hard to shield her from the chaos, and now here I was, unraveling right before her. I felt the familiar tug of guilt, wanting to protect her like I always had, even as a part of me craved her support at this moment. Don't listen to him, Emma, I called, my voice calm but earnest. I'm okay. I'm finding my strength. Not everything has to be as it was. But she didn't seem convinced. My sister stepped closer, her brows knitted together. You don't have to face it alone, you know? Just tell me what he's done. There it was, the edge of pleading in her voice that clashed with my stubborn determination. Liam's hand squeezed mine tighter, grounding me again. This was a moment that felt precarious, like standing on the edge of a cliff, with each word threatening to send me plummeting. Emma, please, I said, urgency creeping into my tone. Listen to me. Tell James he doesn't have power over us. But the glint of instability in James's gaze had morphed into something darker, more dangerous. He took a step forward, looming over us. You think you can just push me out of your life? You think some new friends will keep you safe? His voice thickened with menace. Liam stepped in front of me again, his stance unwavering. The air between us electrified, a blend of worry and fierce determination that pulsed through my veins. The woman beside us took a step forward as well, her soft authority lending strength to our side. We all deserve to live without fear and intimidation. You need to leave. Her voice rose above the storm like a beacon of clarity amidst the chaos. But James laughed, a low, derisive sound that made my stomach churn. You think this is over? I won't let you just walk away. You're still mine, and I won't let some loser stand in my way. In that moment, something shifted in me. Rage bubbled beneath the surface, raw and furious. Maybe I had carried the weight of my past alone for too long. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. I'm not yours. I'm my own person, I shouted, feeling the adrenaline surging through me like fire. You'll never own me again. A tense silence enveloped the diner, every eye fixed on our showdown. As anger swirled within me, Jameis' expression twisted into something both furious and terrified. But just as I thought I had found my voice, the dizzying fear of repercussions crashed over me again. Suddenly, Emma stepped forth, wrapping her arms around me in a fierce embrace, a protective gesture against what no longer had the power to hurt me. Together, always, she whispered, and the clarity of her words cut through the noise, grounding me in something real and palpable. But as hope sprang anew in my chest, the diner's front door slammed open, a final, to me a cold blast that felt as if it heralded an unexpected storm. A tall figure appeared, obscured momentarily by the light behind them. My heart raced as recognition washed over me like a crashing wave. It was someone I never expected to see again, someone from the depths of my past who carried with them a history that threatened to unravel every step forward I had taken. Did someone say you needed a savior? The newcomer drawled, a smirk dancing on their lips. An icy chill swept through the diner, and suddenly, every moment of hope felt precariously poised on the knife edge of disaster. Every heartbeat seemed to echo in the stillness, reverberating through the diner like the distant toll of a church bell announcing an ominous arrival. The light from the door framed the figure, shrouded in a shadow that was all too familiar, yet agonizingly distant. I took an involuntary step back as the reality of my past collided with the fragile strength I had just begun to embrace. Jaden, I breathed, the name barely escaping my lips, a ghost from my history materializing to darken my present. The smirk that danced across his face felt like a taunt, a cruel reminder of the past I thought I could escape. Savior? Or maybe just a reminder of the choices you've made, he quipped, his voice languid and taunting as he surveyed the scene with feigned nonchalance. My insides twisted. Here was someone who knew my fears, my mistakes, someone who thrived on the chaos of my life, hungry for that flicker of vulnerability. James, momentarily stunned, deemed it necessary to defend his territory. And who the hell are you? He spat, trying to reclaim the spotlight while my heart raced with terror. Before Jaden could respond, I felt Emma's grip tighten around my shoulders. Why are you here? She asked, fierce protectiveness creeping into her voice. I could feel her tension vibrating through me, her underlying fear battling with her loyalty. Just checking in on an old friend, Jaden purred, his tone light, but heavy with implication. His gaze darted to me, and for a heartbeat, it felt like we were the only two people in the room, our shared past vibrating like a thin string plucked out of tune. I thought you could use some company, he said, an unsettling mixture of challenge and flirtation lacing his words. Liam shifted beside me, his stance still protective. The warmth of his presence was an anchor in this tempest, but it didn't dissipate the chill that Jaden's return ignited. I could see Liam sizing him up, the unspoken tension between the three of us crackling in the air. She doesn't need you here, or your facade of concern, Liam shot back, unwavering in the face of my past intruding like an unwelcome storm. The diner was frozen, every eye transfixed on the brewing encounter, and I willed myself to breathe. The weight of expectation pressed down on me, amplifying my spiraling thoughts. Why now? After everything, why did he choose this moment? This fragile threshold where I stood determined, where I had just begun to claim my own voice? Jaden waved a dismissive hand, still focused on me. You always were a fighter, Clara. I see you found yourself a lovely little supporting cast. His eyes flashed over Emma and then to Liam, a mocking glint that suggested they were merely placeholders in my journey. But you know how it is. The past has a way of catching up with you. Are you really ready to defy it? Caught in a whirlwind of memories and emotions, I felt clarity seep through the chaos. Jaden had always represented everything I wished to overcome and yet could never fully escape. He was a phantom of my fears, a reminder that the scars of my past were still within reach, still capable of inflicting pain. Everything that happened, I finally said, my voice trembling but resolute, shaped who I am today. I won't let it dictate my future. Each word felt liberating, fueled by my fighter's will. I sought out Liam and Emma's eyes, searching for their support as the shadows of my past threatened to pull me under yet again. Maybe your future is easier when you put down the struggle, Clara, Jaden replied, an edge lurking beneath his feigned casualness. You know I can make things easier for you. He stepped closer, allowing the remnants of familiarity to draw me back, not with affection, but with manipulation. I don't need anything from you, I shouted, my voice raw from the weight of my convictions. But doubt gnawed at me. The conviction felt tenuous against his presence. The lingering allure of my past whispered to me, wrapping around my core like a constrictor. That remains to be seen. Jaden took another step, and the air seemed to thicken as if the space between us was charged with tension. You'll come back to me, Clara. They always do. The world isn't as kind as you think. Beneath his words lay a truth I couldn't ignore. He knew the cracks in my resolve, the wounds that still stung, and as much as I wanted to shake off the filth of our history, a part of me flinched under the weight of his gaze. Emma scoffed, anger bubbling in her tone. You're wrong. She's stronger than you'll ever be. Her voice rose firmly against Jaden's words. but I could sense her fear a shadow that lurked in the inexplicable tension between us. If sensing the shift in the atmosphere, Jaden's playful smirk fell away. Strength is often defined by who stands beside you. His eyes flickered with something deeper, a touch of understanding, perhaps a fleeting acknowledgement of what we once shared. In that moment, I saw a glimpse of the person I once knew, buried beneath layers of manipulation and hurt. But with that realization came the flicker of betrayal. I was reminded of the damage he wrought when we were together, of the chains that once bound me. With a racing heart, I turned to Liam, finding solace in the steadiness of his presence and the warmth of his steadfast belief in me. I need to focus on the here and now to reclaim my own narrative. But before Liam could respond, Jaden's words lingered in the air like a chilling echo, a haunting promise of my past weaving through my consciousness. We'll see about that. Then, as if the universe had conspired against me yet again, the lights in the diner flickered and dimmed, a harbinger of looming tumult. As the comforting chatter of patrons faltered, the weight of my fears hung heavier than ever, threatening to crush me beneath the weight of unrelenting uncertainty. The door swung open once more, revealing a figure silhouetted against the dimmed light. My heart raced as a sudden pang of anxiety coursed through me. The room held its breath, time momentarily suspended as I braced for whatever came next. With my sister's embrace still wrapped around me, and with Liam steadfast at my side, I prepared to confront whatever revelation awaited me. The flicker of the diner lights created a wavering spotlight on the new arrival, a tall figure wrapped in a leather jacket, face obscured by the brim of a hat. The chatter came to an abrupt halt, the tension palpable, weaving its way into my chest and squeezing as a familiar sense of dread crept in. The figure stepped forward, revealing sharp features and an intensity in his gaze that felt like both a warning and a beacon. "Sam?" The whisper left my lips, barely audible against the collective intake of breath from the diner. It was as if every person in the room knew someone had re-entered our shared story, a chapter that I'd hoped was closed. His eyes locked on mine, wide and filled with emotion, each heartbeat reverberating in the silence that lingered like a storm cloud hanging overhead. "Clara, is that really you?" He drew closer, hesitant yet determined, each step echoing the weight of the past that had pulled between us like an ill-fated promise. Jaden recoiled slightly, a flash of irritation crossing his face. "And who the hell invited you to this little reunion?" He shifted, now keenly aware that the arrival of Sam shifted the power dynamics in the room, a potential ally emerging in this tempest. "That I am not here for you, Jaden," Sam replied, his voice firm, cutting through the air with precision. His full attention was directed at me, a forgotten warmth rekindling in the depths of my being. "I've been looking for you, Clara." "Looking for me? After all this time?" My voice caught on the edge of disbelief, my heart flickering between hope and fear. Sam had once been my anchor in a stormy sea, a friend who offered laughter and a glimpse of light when everything felt shrouded in darkness. "I had to know if you were okay," he insisted, his sincerity palpable. I heard about what happened, and his words trailed off, a look of regret crossing his face as he confronted the weight of the past and the choices that had led us here. "It's not okay, Sam," I shot back, hurt lacing my voice as childhood memories engulfed me, laughing beside him, collecting dreams scattered like autumn leaves, only to have them crushed beneath the weight of my history. "It's never been okay. I know," he said softly, taking a step closer. "But I'm here now, and I want to help." Jaden leaned forward, his smirk returning, a mask for the deep insecurity pulsing beneath. "Help? From what? You're nothing but a ghost of her past. Clara's stronger than you'll ever be. Right, Clara?" The sarcasm dripped from his tongue, twisting the words into daggers aimed at both of us. "Stop it, Jaden," I yelled, anger flaring like a fire in my veins. I turned my gaze back to Sam, desperate for clarity amid the chaos. "What do you even mean?" "Why now? Because I couldn't sit by and watch you drown," he said, determination shining through the pain. "I'm not asking you to go back to anything, Clara. I just can't stand the thought of you being trapped." For the first time, vulnerability wrapped around me like a warm blanket. Memories of laughter and shared dreams sparked to life amid the icy grip of intimidation, and despite the tension that still hung like a shroud, flickers of hope bloomed. In a world overshadowed by uncertainty, there was a reassuring hand, a familiar gaze locked in solidarity. Jaden chuckled mockingly. Nice sentiment. But hope doesn't pay the bills or protect you from the realities of life. You think he can change that? Maybe it's not about change, Jaden. Maybe it's about facing those realities head-on together. I shot back, frustration bearing down. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? Liam shifted beside me, his presence a grounding force. Clara's right, this isn't about what the past has taken, but what we're willing to build moving forward. We're here. We're strong. The tension took a monstrous form again, each word hanging heavy in the air, and it felt as if the ground was shifting beneath me. Jaden's gaze turned icy with disdain. Do you think that will protect you when the consequences of your choices come crashing down again? Stop it. Emma's voice broke through the inky darkness, fierce and unapologetic. You don't get to dictate how this is going to end. Not now, but doubt still coiled tight around my heart, whispering in shadows. What if Jaden was right? What if my past resurfaced like a haunting melody promising destruction? With Sam here, the familiar quilt of nostalgia intertwined with fear clashed against my desire for progress. Though sensing the fissures in my armor, Sam stepped closer, each beat of my heart sinking with the unspoken promise of his support. Clara, you are not alone. No matter what comes, we face it together. I'm not leaving this time. Jaden scoffed, but I could see a crack forming in his facade, a flicker of uncertainty as he stepped back, momentarily disarmed. Well, see how long that lasts, he spat, his bravado weakening, leaving something else, something almost desperate lingering behind his eyes. Then, the diner door swung open once more, brightening the room with a flood of unseen forces as a voice called through the din. Clara, you need to come here. My heart plummeted at the urgency in the tone. Turning towards the sound, I felt my breath hitch as if fate had decided to conspire against me one last time. The last face I expected to see and the last I ever wanted to face again stood framed in light, mouth set in an anxious line. My mother. The walls of the diner began to close in like the suffocating embrace of unfulfilled dreams, a harbinger of destabilizing tides returning to sweep me under. In the whirlwind of reunion and vulnerability, my pulse raced, each heartbeat hammering a terrifying truth into my marrow. I could no longer outrun my past. The weight of my mother's presence loomed like an unwelcome ghost. As her anxious gaze locked onto mine, the diner faded to a blur, each face increasingly unrecognizable as the walls swelled with memories I had fought so hard to escape. My heart raced, drowning in a tide of shame and anger as I resisted the urge to turn and run. Clara. She stepped forward, desperation etched in her features, and my defenses instantly fortified, every moment from my childhood flooding back every disappointment, every shatter of trust. No, not here. Not now. What are you doing here? I managed to choke out, my voice steadied by an uncomfortable mixture of indignation and fear. I need to talk to you. Please, she implored, reaching for me as if she could bridge the chasm that had grown between us. The diner's eyes were like magnifying glasses, amplifying not only the tension but the unrelenting specters of disappointment that clawed at my heart. Jaden's presence hardened beside me, his voice dripping with disdain as he observed the tense reunion. You've got some nerve. After everything showing up like this? Jaden, please, I whispered, feeling a swell of anger fight against the commotion in my heart. This isn't your fight. With a look of surprise, Sam stepped slightly ahead, eyes flashing with caution. We deserve to understand why you left, he addressed my mother, and for a moment, our common bond of unspoken hurt knit our souls tighter amidst the chaos. His voice was calming, like a balm against deep wounds. I never wanted to hurt you. My mother's voice was fragile, each syllable a thread trying to weave a tapestry of lost moments. I had my reasons, Clara. I never stopped thinking about you. You think that excuses the emptiness you left behind? The countless nights spent wondering why I wasn't enough? I could feel the anguish laced within my tone, so raw it was painful, like ripping open a barely healed scar. Before she could respond, a flicker of movement caught my eye. Emma, ever the steady anchor among swirling storms, edged closer, her expression a mixture of kind-hearted resolve and fierce protectiveness. Clara, You were strong enough to find your voice. You deserve to know your truth. You think I can just stand here and listen to her talk about reasons? I snapped, looking back at Sam, who remained steady as he watched my internal battle unfold. And what if her reasons don't include me at all? What if she was just selfish? Clara, Sam said, his tone firm yet infused with tenderness. Whatever you decide to give this moment, you are the one in control. The firmness of his words sparked a flicker of courage within me, a tiny ember in the midst of the consuming darkness. Still, doubts simmered beneath the surface, gnawing at me like a relentless throb. I am not going anywhere until you hear me out, my mother pleaded, her voice catching like a choking star. There are things you don't know, things I've never been able to tell you. The sincerity in her eyes, the way they brimmed with unshed tears, urged a shift in my heart. It was the first sliver of vulnerability I'd seen in her in years. I felt the tides turning, like the possibility of a new chapter, a reopening of old wounds that might just yield something more profound than despair. But before I could respond, the door swung open again to a rush of cold wind and unexpected laughter. In stepped Riley, the local barista with a heart as big as the moon and the seemingly endless ability to lighten the mood. I figured if I didn't find you here, I might have to start canvassing the town. His infectious enthusiasm created a ripple of warmth, a brief spark of hope amidst the turbulent current. I brought donuts, and I heard Miss Clara was having an emotional day. He approached, the sweet aroma following him as he handed me a box, the levity dancing through the tension like a balm. Life's too short for sad faces. Have a donut. I couldn't help it. The corners of my mouth curled into the hint of a smile, and for a moment, it was as if all our problems were suspended in midair, frozen in time. But the laughter faded as quickly as it came, and as Riley took in the somber scene, his bright demeanor faltered when his gaze landed on my mother. Oh, hey, Jaden stepped forward, the possessive tension reigniting. You don't belong here, he spat, eyeing Riley with disdain. Not in this mess. The fiery zing returned to my heart, propelling me forward. Stop it, all of you. I felt the words clawing their way out, raw and unpolished. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine while I was poised between two worlds, one fueled by hurt, and the other by flickers of fragile hope. I turned back to my mother. Maybe I want to hear what you have to say, but I need you to understand something important for once. It's my terms. If we're going to do this, I need you to promise me it's the truth. Her eyes softened, a dawning realization creeping in. I promise, Clara. I just need a chance. But as her words hung in the air, the diner door opened once more, revealing a figure cloaked in shadow. A deep voice carried through the din, anchoring us with a claim that sent icy fingers down my spine. I think you'll want to hear what I have to say too, Clara. It's about your mother. My breath hitched, an exhilarating mix of fear and curiosity rushing through me. My past threatened to spiral out of control, setting the stage for revelations I had never anticipated. I was standing on the precipice of something undeniably transformative, yet it felt as though the roots of my past stretched hauntingly deep, ready to ensnare me all over again. The air felt electric, thick with unspoken truths and unresolved anguish. My heart raced, not just from the fallout of my mother's unexpected appearance, but from the newcomer standing in the doorway, casting a long shadow in the middle of my fragile world. What do you mean? I asked, my voice wavering between curiosity and apprehension, hardly recognizing it as my own. I knew those shadows buried within me. I could only brace for what lay ahead. The man stepped forward, revealing himself beneath the diner's warm glow. His features were familiar, yet unsettlingly foreign, as if somehow carved from the very essence of my past. Nathan, he stated gravely, his gaze locking onto mine with an intensity that ignited all my defenses. Your father sent me. A chill settled in the pit of my stomach, and all the air seemed to siphon away. My thoughts spiraled. My father? After all this time? Fleeing the recollections of his abandonment, the memories of screams and hurt that echoed through my childhood, the thought felt like a ghost rising from the grave, demanding recognition. How do you know my father? I forced out, echoing the questions thrumming in my mind. It's complicated, Nathan said, glancing at my mother, a storm of emotions brewing between them. He's been looking for you, Clara. Looking for both of you. There's so much you don't know. He needs to explain. The room shuddered under the weight of his words, and the tension that had clung to my heart morphed into something greater, a tempest of anger, fear, and innate skepticism. Why now? I snapped, feeling like a puppet dangling at the mercy of unseen strings. After all these years, why should I believe anything you say? Because you deserve to know the truth, Nathan replied, his voice softened, yet edged with urgency. Things don't always align neatly, but I assure you, your father has changed. He regrets what happened. Regrets? Regrets don't change the past. I spat, the warmth that Riley's unexpected kindness had sparked within me dissipating in an instant. I felt betrayed by the sudden turn of events, as if the world was recalibrating around me, throwing me off balance yet again. Clara, please listen, my mother interjected, desperation haunting her words. There are things even I don't fully understand. But if you could give Nathan a chance to speak now, I shouted, the anguish folding in on itself as I turned away from the storm of conflicting loyalties. Sam reached out, gentle but firm, grounding me. Clara, he murmured, you deserve to confront this. You need to take control of your narrative. I've had enough control of my life to know it hasn't changed anything. I shot back, a swelling tide of anger releasing like a broken dam. I don't need either of you defining my past or my future. Jaden, emboldened by my turmoil, focused his disdain on Nathan. This is none of your business. You know that, right? Whoever your father is, he can't just waltz back in and expect forgiveness. Not after abandoning her like he did. Abandonment is a strong word, Nathan replied, unfazed. It's layered, just as families are. His intentions may have misfired, but you don't understand the constraints he faced. I didn't come here to fight. I came to deliver a message. And what makes you think that I want it? I challenged, my heart pounding against the confines of my resolve, because you're brave enough to want the truth. And when it's all laid bare, you'll find yourself standing in the clarity, between the shadows and the light. Nathan offered earnestly, his voice sincere, striking a chord somewhere within my heart that I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment crash against the shores of my uncertainty. His words hung there, delicate as glass, reflecting a glimmer of hope I had long buried beneath layers of hurt. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, the bell over the door chimed once more. A gust of wind followed, and in stepped a woman with striking blue hair, her presence luminous, yet laden with intent. Sorry to barge in, she announced, her voice steady despite the turmoil that surrounded us. But I think I'm the one you really need to hear. I stumbled backward, caught off guard by the tidal wave of revelation crashing over me, drowning me in unanswered questions. Who are you? I managed to ask, the tremors of emotion spilling over once more. I'm your sister, she replied plainly, and with those words, the intricate tapestry of my past began unraveling, each thread a painful reminder of the truths I had yet to confront. The revelations were cascading like a mighty waterfall, threatening to pull me under, and I could feel the haunting echoes of my childhood intensifying, intertwining sharply with the unexpected flickers of potential love and kinship that I stood in the midst of a delicate crossroads, each path layered with uncertainty. My attention crossed over Nathan, my mother, and this unanticipated sister, each presence a fragment of the life I had thought I controlled. But as the world around me twisted and turned, I felt as though the very structure of who I was stood on the brink of shattering and binding. The diner's air felt heavy, laden with unspoken words, as if my whole life had been a collection of half-finished sentences. My mind raced, struggling to catch up with the whirlwind of revelations that had just transpired. Your sister, I echoed mechanically, each word a brick added to the wall of uncertainty forming around me. The stranger only nodded, her vibrant blue hair framing a face that held both familiarity and mystery. Clara, she said softly, taking a tentative step toward me. I know this is overwhelming, but I've been waiting for a chance to find you. Her voice was steady, yet laced with urgency, as if carrying the weight of years lost between us. I stumbled backward, each breath feeling shallow as I grappled with my emotions. Waiting? Why didn't you come sooner? I've lived my whole life not knowing you existed. My anger swirled like venom in my veins that I had to find the right moment. She replied, her tone imbued with a painful honesty. After our father left, our mother. Her voice cracked, and the vulnerability in her eyes pierced through the armor of my resentment. She struggled. I grew up in foster homes, searching for answers, asking who I looked like and where I came from. As she spoke, I momentarily saw my own childhood reflected in her hurt. The gnawing loneliness, the yearning for connection, it was all too familiar. Forcing my defiance to the surface, I shot back. You don't know me. You don't know what I've endured. And now you just waltz in here, expecting me to accept you. Clara, please, Nathan interjected, taking a step closer to me. None of us are the villains in this story. We're all seeking something: truth, understanding, acceptance. Your sister deserves a chance, just as much as you do. His words floated between us, an invisible thread pulling at something deep inside, something I had long buried beneath resentment and pain. The idea of a sister, of shared blood and destiny, cracked the veneer of my defenses open just a fraction. With shaking hands, the blue-haired woman, Lily, ventured forward again. I know this feels like a storm, a tempest of feelings, old and new. But I want to be part of your life. I want to help you find the answers you deserve. Then the memories flooded back, of late-night whispers in the dark, of yearning for someone to share the silence and the solitude with. It felt like a cruel joke. This woman, this sister, was an embodiment of everything I had longed for. Yet my heart rebelled against the idea. No, I don't want to hear more lies, I snapped, anger barricading my vulnerability. I've had enough of uncertainty in my life. Clara, stop. My mother's voice sliced through the tension, filled with emotion I didn't dare acknowledge. This is your chance. Don't shut it down because you're scared. You can't keep turning your back on those who want to help you. Tears threatened to spill as helplessness wrapped around me in a cold embrace. I wanted to scream, to run, to shut everyone out. But for the first time, there was also an inkling of hope, a flicker amidst the chaos. Why are you willing to help me? I asked Lily, my voice softer now, threading through the chaos around us. You barely know me. Lily's expression softened, her eyes glistening. Because you deserve to know you're not alone. I don't want to miss my chance again, not with family, not with someone I've waited so long to meet. I think we could help each other. Just as I was about to respond, the bell jangled a second time, and the door swung open again. This time, in walked a man so similar to Nathan, his posture, his demeanor, the way he held his gaze with fierce determination. He scanned the room, his eyes landing on Nathan before slowly shifting to me. That I am here to find Clara, he declared, a voice echoing with unexpected authority. My heart sank. Another revelation, another whirlwind of confusion. This man, too, bore the subtle essence of my past, a reminder that my life was a jigsaw puzzle with pieces scattered, some still absent. Who are you? I managed to ask, my heart racing anew. I am Jake, he said, averting his broad shoulders and summoning the courage to step forward. Your brother. Shock wrapped around me like thick fog, leaving little room to breathe. The walls closed in, pressure mounting as my rigid world disintegrated around me. I was engulfed in a new storm, a reality that had shifted the ground from under my feet. I glanced back at Nathan, my mother, and then to Lily, panic brushing against the edges of my realization. Suddenly, everything I thought I had known felt like a fragment of an intricate puzzle bordering the boundary of my identity, vibrating with unanswered questions. The cry of my heart: was it still longing for the truth, or was it seeking stability amidst the chaos? I took a step back, wishing to rewind moments that felt all too volatile and fraying. But as Jake looked at me with determination etched into his brow, a new realization settled in. My story was only just beginning to unfold, no matter how fragmented it felt. And the only certainty now was that this was far from over, the shadows lurking still, whispering of deeper truths yet to be unveiled. The diner's atmosphere grew tense, every exchange crackling with the weight of unprocessed emotions. My heart raced as Jake's presence amplified the confusion swirling inside me. Strangers were no longer just strangers. They were pieces of a family I never knew existed. Yet, instead of solace, the revelation only deepened my turmoil. What do you want from me? I asked, hoping to mask my vulnerability, but only displaying it more openly. Information cascaded around me, drowning me in a current I didn't know how to navigate. Jake took a breath, visibly steeling himself. I came because I need to talk to you. About the past, about what happened with our family. His voice was steady, but beneath it lay a well of emotion I could sense he was trying desperately to control. The past? I repeated, shards of anger sparking to life. What do you expect from me? Closure? Apologies? Because I'm not ready to don the cape of familial forgiveness just yet. I watched closely as he processed my words, his face a mask of hurt and determination. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but the words seemed caught in his throat. Instead, Lily stepped in, her empathy radiating towards me like warmth on a cold day. Clara, we all share a history you deserve to know. It may not be pretty, but it's ours. Her eyes were filled with a brightness that somehow pierced my walls of bitterness. That past doesn't define you, can't. It's only here to help you understand who you are now. What do you know about my understanding? I fired back. The bitterness hung between us, the fragile thread that tethered me to the unleashed emotions burgeoned above everything. And I resisted its weight, fearful of letting it unravel. That I know that you're hurting, she said quietly. I know you've kept people at bay to protect yourself. But, Clara, that barrier you've built only serves to isolate you. The open wound you carry can't heal if you don't let someone in to help you mend it. In that moment, a swell of emotion crashed over me. I wanted to yell, to push them all away again, but another voice, gentle yet firm, rose from the back of my mind, one that sounded strangely like my own. What if she was right? Jake, sensing the shift, continued gently. Clara, I wasn't there when you needed someone. I can't change the past, but I want to be here now. For you. To understand more of our family and maybe even ourselves. Why now? I croaked, exhaustion draping itself over me like a heavy blanket. After years, suddenly, there's an urgency to play the family game. Jake's shoulders slumped slightly, but then straightened, determination igniting. Because you're the last piece of the puzzle, Clara. I need to know my sister. I long to understand what happened and how we ended up here. Each word held weight, an echo of longing that mirrored my own. The scene fell into silence, time stretching as all eyes settled on the three of us. My heart pounded relentlessly against my rib cage, a reminder of how alive I felt in this moment, caged and claustrophobic, yet somehow embraced by the potential of connection. And then, a stranger's hand brushed Minea, shared touch, unexpected and gentle. It was Nathan, his fingers a comforting warmth amidst the chaos. You're not alone in this, he said softly, piercing the shroud of uncertainty. Whatever you choose, we're here for you every step of the way. His kindness enveloped me, stirring something deep inside that I thought had long been extinguished. My eyes fell to the floor, and for the first time in a long while, I yearned for something resolute, a tether to hope awash amidst the unease. But the moment was soon fractured. The door slammed open once again with a force that drew every gaze. A woman stood there, haunted, disheveled, and breathless. Her eyes found mine, wild and demanding, as if pulling me into a spiral of unsaid words. Clara, she shouted, her voice rife with panic. You have to come with me. It's about your father's back, and he's looking for you. A chill swept through the diner, freezing time and drawing our collective breath. All the fragments I had just begun to piece together felt poised to shatter once again, and I was left standing at the precipice of shocking revelations. As her words hung thick in the air, realization gripped me. Had a choice to make, and it demanded every ounce of courage I had left. Would I dare confront the father whose absence had shaped so much of my life? Or would I retreat into the familiar shadow of denial, lost in a world where perhaps the truth was less painful than facing the man who could turn my shattered heart into a crucible of hurt all over again? Every heartbeat felt like a drum roll echoing into the void of my uncertainty as the woman's words hung, suspended in time. My father had returned. The very thought clawed at the frayed edges of my heart, a reminder of all the pain and chaos I had fought so hard to overcome. The gravity of that moment pinned me in place, my resolve flickering like a candle caught in a gust of wind. Clara, you need to breathe, I reminded myself, just as a raging storm began to swirl within me. But the pressure surged forward, demanding a response, a choice. Would I confront the man who had shaped so much of my past, or would I allow fear to lock me back into the same cycle of hurt? Silence threatened to envelop the diner fully, each pair of eyes boring into me, waiting for direction amidst the swirling tempest. That I glanced at my mother, whose face bore witness to a lifetime of regret and love, all tangled up together, and then back to Nathan and Jake, their expressions brimming with both concern and hope. In their eyes, I saw the unwavering belief that I could arise from the ashes of the past not as a victim, but as a woman ready to reclaim her story. Then there was Lily, my sister, my potential ally in this twisted narrative, a glimmer of kinship shining in her hopeful gaze. I could almost hear the unspoken question in her eyes. Will you let me in? Suddenly, with all their uncertainties, it became clear. I couldn't walk this journey alone any longer. Ilgo, I blurted without fully understanding the conviction behind my words, the vibrations of courage coursing through my veins. It felt like the adrenaline rush that came before jumping from a great height, the realization that this leap would shape everything to come. I need to face him. Finality starts now. The nods from Sam and Lily solidified my choice, their silent encouragement intertwining with my determination. Clara, wait, my mother said, a thread of fear flaring in her voice as I moved toward the door. You don't really know what you're getting into. Turning back to her, I met her gaze, steady and fierce. That's just it, Mom. I've spent too long letting uncertainty dictate my life. I want to need the truth, whatever that looks like. Her eyes searched mine, perhaps for doubt, and perhaps for something unshakable she could hold on to. The latter was a flicker of vulnerability that mirrored my own. The woman who had burst into the diner, her name forgotten under the weight of everything, stepped aside, letting the light spill into the space that felt so heavy. We should go, she urged gently. He doesn't have much time. As I crossed the threshold, a peculiar sense of calm washed over me. The outside world felt resplendent in stark contrast to the chaos I had just stepped away from, brighter, more alive, as if it understood the weight I was attempting to lift from my shoulders. In the car, silence enveloped us like an embrace, nerves threading tangibly through the air. I could see Sam's fingers tap rhythmically on his thigh, the tension easing just slightly as I felt a comforting hand entwine with mine. Lily's. It surprised me, but in that moment, it resonated with warmth, a tether I suddenly needed more than air. Whatever happens, we're right behind you, she whispered, squeezing my hand just tightly enough to infuse courage into my spine. Thank you, I breathed, the weight of that singular phrase carrying the potential of so much hope. As the car navigated winding streets, each turn stirred a pot of anticipation, and I felt the soft rush of memories washing over me. Every tear I had shed, every truth I had buried, now colliding in a space that promised confrontation. When we finally arrived at the dilapidated house that held every ghost I'd ever feared, a rush of memories threatened to pull me under. This was everything from my childhood, from my heartache, lay contained within these four walls. I took a deep breath, grounding myself, searching for strength like a beacon. As the door creaked open, the shadows within flickered alive, and I entered, flanked by Lily, Sam, and Nathan, the weight of my past pressing against me. Every inch of me trembled with recognition and dread, but determination flickered to life within my heart. Clara. His voice ricocheted around the room, a mixture of surprise and something else beneath the surface. The man hunched by the window turned toward me, eyes twisted with emotion that urged a torrent of responses from within: mepity, anger, confusion. Here was the father I had spent years resenting, a ghost made flesh and bone. I am here, I called, steady and poised, as the clouds of anger circling through me condensed into an overwhelming storm. I stepped further into the room, forcing myself to take in the sight of him, the man who had left a chasm in my life. You wanted to talk? My voice echoed in the air, firm yet weary, marking the crossroads of a fractured past. His eyes searched mine, flickers of humanity and vulnerability displayed across his face. Remorse and uncertainty intermingled, yet it was the shadows of the past that painted the darkest strokes against his features. I didn't think you'd ever come, he murmured, a depth of sadness radiating through his trembling words, each like an anchor dragging me into an emotional embrace. I had no clue why in the world I would. I shot back, anger lacing my voice. But beneath it lay a flicker of hurt, the echo of a little girl still lost inside. You left. You chose to turn your back on me. Clara, he started, but the anger roared to life within me. You don't get to just start with excuses. I made it through every day, Every heart-wrenching moment because you weren't there. My voice trembled with the weight of my pain, the truth spilling forth like an unquenchable fire demanding liberation. Do you know how much I needed you? I lived every day terrified that I wasn't enough, that maybe I was the reason you left. He flinched, as if I had struck him, the guilt marring his expression. I made choices that haunt me. I never meant to hurt you. His words struggled through the weight of unspoken regrets. Desperate pleading etched on his face. Then tell me what I deserve to know. Help me understand, I urged, feeling the ground beneath my feet shift into something tangible. Hope wild, fierce hope flickered like a flame. I thought leaving was protecting you, he continued. There were things you shouldn't have to see, the mess I made. I thought I could make it work away from you, fix it first, so you wouldn't see who I had become. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough. His voice trailed off, reflections settling deep within the silence that followed. In that moment, the dam within me erupted, but instead of rage, the swell brought terse a torrent of sorrow for the denial, a wish for something softer than the twisted memories. Do you think you can just come back and pretend it's easy? I said bitterly. Do you think everything you've done can be erased? His eyes glistened, genuine despair reflecting in the depths of his being. No, but I want to try to make things right the best I can. If you'll allow me. A tremor ran through me as a deep ache stirred within the remnants of my heart. The initial surge of anger engulfed by a hesitant longing, the promise of connection, of healing that still felt so fragile. But just as I opened my mouth to respond, a familiar scent wafted through the air. I turned slightly to see Nathan watching me. The warmth in his smile seeped through my bones, filling the cracks that had spread over the years. I felt an overwhelming sense of support surrounding Maya, bombs soothing the tempest that had consumed me. I am not placing any blame on you, I offered, feeling lighter with every word. I was starting to change my narrative as pain began to fracture into the light. I'm simply saying that the hurt doesn't vanish in a moment. I need you to know that I'm here to understand. To heal, together? He asked, his voice cracking under the weight of unspent emotion. Together, I repeated, a vow whispered between the remnants of fear and the dawn of hope cracking through once more. The echo of our agreement hung heavy in the air, forging a bond unseen, yet palpable, and in that moment, I felt the door to the past creaking, ever so slightly open, leading into a world filled with possibilities yet unknown. For the first time, I allowed the past to sit beside me instead of suffocating me, a reminder that while it shaped who I was, it would not define who I could become. With renewed resolve, I turned to my family gathered behind me, my heart racing with newfound unity in our fractured world, broken, yes, but also woven together in ways I had yet to discover. Let's start fresh, I whispered, glancing around at Lily, Sam, Nathan, and yes, even at the man who had once disappeared. We all held the potential to rewrite our narratives, step by step toward the light of healing. And as I looked back at my father, my voice steady and unwavering, I declared, I will not let the past drown out my future. Today, we begin again a new chapter, born from the ashes of what once was. And in that moment, we all took a breath of fresh air, an invocation of unity amidst pain, a pledge of resilience, and a hope for something brilliant waiting to bloom. Life awaited us on the horizon, and now, it felt a little less frightening. With every heartbeat that followed, I dared to step forward. For the first time in a long time, it seemed the future was finally within reach, painted with a palette of colors yet undiscovered, waiting for us to claim our story and embrace the narrative of love that lay ahead. That I walked towards the light, my heart singing a new tune, whispering that change was not only possible, but beautiful, especially when we faced it together.